This is Solo Movie Dates, a podcast for people who love movies and especially love seeing them alone. I'm Nestle. I'm an avid moviegoer and a semi-professional yapper, and most importantly, I love going to the cinema solo. I thought I would bring those things together and do my post-cinema debrief with you lovely people. So, if a walkthrough of a film a week with some pop culture and silly jokes thrown in sounds like your kind of fun, come, sit down, go for a walk, tidy the house, whilst we go on our little solo movie date. Hello, how is everybody? Welcome to Solo Movie Dates. Today we are solo TV dating. How exciting! This is our first ever TV show that we are covering. We've done a couple of movies at this point, and I just thought it might be fun to cover a little TV show. And look, is anyone shocked that this is happening? I think I've been talking about this show for the past 5 weeks, maybe. I'm obsessed. We, of course, are diving into the world of hockey and the world of beautiful gay men in Heated Rivalry. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So we are going to do episodes 1 to 3 in this episode. It might be quite long. Shoot me. Who cares? And then we will do episodes 4 to 6. As I said, it's going to be a long episode, but there will be chapters along the way. So look, if you just want to jump straight into episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, wherever you want to be, please feel free to do that. And just some quick podcast admin before we get into the bulk of everything. I have a Patreon. It is free, but I want to build out a little community, and it would be amazing if anyone who is new or has been here before can come join us over there. I would love it. That would be great. And just a little 5 stars wherever you're listening to this I would love that. That would absolutely be amazing. Look, I haven't read the books. I'm not going to read the books right now. I probably am in the midst of from now until season 2. I think that's going to happen. But yeah, I don't really know much about any differences to the book unless I've seen it on TikTok somewhere. But also it's this should be a standalone show, so that should not matter. I have watched the entire show. I've watched it multiple times. I'm sure we all have. So please, I am going to do episodes 1 to 3, but there may be spoilers for what comes in 4, 5, and 6. So please have watched the entire show. And sometimes when I'm talking about the spoilers up front, I'm a bit whatever. With this, go watch this show. If you have not seen this show, go watch the show first. So yes, you have been warned. There will be so many spoilers. But yeah, we'll delve into each episode individually. We'll talk through them. We'll talk about the beauty of it. We'll talk about our little boys, Shane and Ilya. I'm so excited. We obviously are going to be talking also about Scott Hunter and Kip in this episode. Just the best. How exciting. How exciting. A few other quick warnings. This is a smutty, sexy, hot show. We are going to be talking about the sex in this show. I'm not going to get super graphic, but there will be some sex talk. So just, be ready for that. And there is a high probability I may cry. This show has meant so much to me. I just love it so much. I love these little beauties. I think it's the best. So look, you've been warned. You've been warned up front. Get ready. So yeah, before we jump into each episode individually, let's just talk about this show. This show has just blown up, I think, so much more than any single person thought it was going to. So for anyone that does not know, this is based on a smut book by Rachel Reed, which is an MLM, multi-level marketing book about ice hockey and about closeted gay professional hockey players. The show's existence is largely thanks to Jacob Tierney. He is the creator, the showrunner. He is a queer creator and apparently a huge hockey fan, and obviously devoured Heated Rivalry, the book. And then in 2024, he DM'd Rachel Reed on Instagram and was like, look, I want to make your book into a TV show. I think rightly, Rachel Reed was a little bit skeptical. She was like, look, books like this, especially like queer, explicit romance books, they just don't get this like serious TV treatment. I think she was expecting this to be like almost like softcore porn sort of vibes. But apparently they jumped on a Zoom call and Tierney laid out like his vision for this and the fact that he wanted to make it like pure queer joy. And like, you know, the reality of being a pro hockey player who is closeted, like having that like that be the grittiness, but not make it like a gay tragedy. And I think, you know, there has been a history of TV shows and movies about queer people being very tragic and not like, yes, stressful because they're closeted and there's all the stress and the horror and the trauma that comes with that, but also just like being in love and learning who you are as a person is also in this show. And I think after their like Zoom call, Rachel Reed was like, go for it. You got my blessing. So yeah, Tierney wrote the pilot script. He sent that to Reed. And like I think you know, she was just a bit like someone has taken this so seriously. And she said that when she received the script, she burst into tears. Oh, I'm just so happy for her. I actually saw a video, a little clip of them learning that they were going to get a season two. And so, you know, Jacob Tierney called up the two actors and Rachel Reed came on. It's like a video call and she comes on and her hair's like a mess. It looks like she's just like woken up. And I just love that for her. I love that like this thing has taken off and you could see these two actors like love her so much and Jacob loves her so much. And like, this is just such a beautiful clip. I watched it on TikTok. I'll find a link and I'll put it in the show notes so that everyone can just watch this. There's probably going to be a lot of TikToks listed out in the show notes to have a look at. Um, but yeah, I just like I think I've talked about this on a couple of episodes, but like these like smutty books, yes, I get it. They like live in this realm of like 50 Shades. But there is some reality to it as well, where it's like, this is the type of content that people want to read and they want to watch and they want to get lost in. And I think we do put it in this box of like not real and not serious and silly and frivolous. And it is those things, but it is also these like really beautiful stories that we can pull from. I'm just so happy that writers like Rachel Reed are getting this like day in the sun because a show has been taken so seriously and it's been handled with so much care and so much love that it's become something real that people are really latching onto. There is a world in which this was made into something terrible and something unwatchable and just full of smut and sex. There was very, you know, graphic and just not necessary to the story. Apologies, I just had to take a tiny quick break because I had my red light mask on, but I've taken it off now. So my skin hopefully is looking snatched. Speaking of skincare, let's talk about Hudson Williams. So yeah, casting. So, obviously, this show lives and dies by these two main leads, Shane Hollander and Ilya Rozanov. Um, they obviously not only had to be really great at their individual roles, but their chemistry had to be next level. And so they kind of scoured everywhere to find these actors. So let's talk about Hudson Williams. So firstly, yes, I saw a TikTok of him and Connor Story. So they've been just doing a lot of these very cute interviews together. And in one of them, Connor Story was talking about how Hudson Williams loves skincare. He has the most beautiful skin. There is a scene in the last episode, in the cottage episode, where like, you know, he talks about being in love with this boy with beautiful freckles and like, oh, he just does. I love him so much. So yeah, Hudson Williams plays Shane. There was a comment by Tierney and Reed that you know, Shane had to be of Asian descent. It was part of his book character and like it added diversity to like the hockey bro archetype because he's this like very Canadian golden boy hockey player, and I think adding in this level of diversity I think really mattered to that and as part of his character. So yeah, so he plays Shane Hollander. Shane is obviously very like uptight. he eats a certain diet. He doesn't drink. He's very, very into like being a good hockey player, as opposed to Ilya Rozanov. I jump between these two on who my favorite is. Obviously, my favorite is just the two of them together because I love them so much. But I do really jump between loving Shane and loving Ilya. I think, oh, I just love both of them in so many different ways. So yeah, so Connor's story was actually in Joker 2, the Folie à Deux. And apparently he had to have a massive transformation to like become quite big, like Ilya is. I actually haven't seen any before and after, so I'm not sure about that. But like, obviously, his body is insane in this show. It's ridiculous. And Connor is American. He is not Russian. So yeah, apparently, once he booked the role, he worked with a dialect coach, Kate Yablunovsky, for 4 hours a day. And apparently he stayed in the Russian accent throughout the entire shoot, just to make sure, the shoot is short. It was just over a month. It was 37-day shoot. So I kind of get him staying in that if like they probably didn't have much prep time as well leading up to this. So like I don't think this is like gross method. I think this is just like him just not wanting to slip out of the accent. And obviously in episode 5, oh, I like this is the bit that I might cry out when we get to it. But like in episode 5, he does this beautiful monologue about his life and how he's feeling and his thoughts, and it's all in Russian. And apparently, when he did that scene, his dialect coach was on set, and Jacob Tierney asked her like, which take is usable. Said all of them. Ah, I just love it. And apparently, native Russian speakers have noted like, he has a slight American accent. Like his pronunciation is like pretty good. It's understandable, and like they said, it's pretty rare for Western actors, especially someone who had like I would say a couple of weeks maybe to prep for this. Um, and then yeah, let's talk about the chemistry. So obviously they have insane chemistry. It's actually a bit ridiculous. So I talked about this the other day, but apparently, so I think Connor got casted first, and then he did a couple of chemistry reads with like 3 or 4 different people. And apparently he got off the call with Hudson and was like, "This is the guy, this is the one." And Connor has described them as like soulmates, like they're obsessed with each other, and I just love that for them. But yes, apparently they got them in a room. They did a chemistry read with them, like once they were both casted, and the entire room was like silent. And yeah, the decision was just like made. Like they were like, "This is it. These are our guys." And Conor Story and Hudson William have signed a 3-season contract. They actually only made industry rates for this, which I think they were saying was like about 7 grand, just under 7,000 Canadian dollars a week. Um, I'm assuming that they're going to be renegotiating their season 2 contract. But yes, Heated Rivalry season 2 has been confirmed by both Crave and HBO. And the expectation is that it'll come out in 2027, which is too far away. But yes, they have a 3-year contract. Season 2 is confirmed. The Hollander Rozanov era is continuing. So yeah, let's just talk quickly about the production. So it is a Crave production, and then HBO were the distributor. I do need to say I've been a little bit naughty. So in the UK, it hasn't had a distributor for a very long time. Sky here eventually is going to distribute it in January. I have a feeling that they got an option to distribute this earlier on and passed, and I feel like this is potentially one of the biggest mistakes they've made. Like this has become one of the biggest shows in the world, and it is not available in the UK. It's insane. I'm not going to talk about how I've been watching this, but I've been watching it, so fill in the gaps. But yes, Tierney took this to Crave, and he was like, "This is going to be smut. Like, I am not fading to black. Like when they are having sex, like the sex that Shane and Ilya are having is like the way that they communicate to each other before they like know how to use the words to communicate to one another." And I would totally agree with that. Like we'll get into it episode by episode, but like I don't think any of these sex scenes are like just there to be there. They all tell a story of how they are feeling at that time. And I think a lot of that is actually down to the fact that this spans 9 years. So like each interaction they have They are both in a different part of their lives. They are having different emotional feelings. It's not like they're hooking up for like 3 weeks and then we're seeing all of that. It's like each of these interactions is like a year apart. Sometimes longer, sometimes a bit shorter, but most of the time about a year. They hired Chala Hunter as the intimacy coordinator. And they were saying instead of making it look hot, they choreographed the scenes to show the power struggle between the two rivals. And hard facts, hard facts. So yeah, just incredible. And yeah, just like shooting wise, so as I said, they shot it over 37 days, which is quite like that's crazy for how insane this looks and how like high production values this had. So the way that they did that, so they shot it over 37 days and they shot it for about 12 million Canadian dollars, which again is nothing. That was the entirety of the budget. Um Obviously a lot of that budget went on music licensing. So they had all the things she said in episode 4 and I'll Believe in Anything in episode 5, which is the title of episode 5. And I think they paid a lot of money for those like big like viral pieces of music in the show. Can you tell that Tierney is a queer creator? 1,000%. I love it. It's great. But yeah, so to keep the budget down, so they did all the hockey scenes for the entire season were shot in like one block so that they could keep like rink rental costs. Because that was one of my big things. I was like, they're not using like tiny ice skating rinks, right? Like these are huge, huge arenas. And there is a lot of hockey in this show. Like I know it's a show about hockey, but like that's not cheap. That's a lot of extras. It's a lot of people in each individual scene. They do a lot of stuff on the ice. Apparently they also had some like professional hockey players as extras so that like the people around them could skate and play hockey. Very important. You know, there's a lot of scenes, especially in episode 5, there's a lot of like more like intimate scenes between Ilya and Shane on the ice. Like there's the back and forth when they're playing together, like on the same team. There's obviously when Shane gets injured as well. Like that is like on the ice. Like those are hard shots to get, especially in a like a very quick block. So incredible job by this production team. And then insanely, all the hotel and bedroom scenes were filmed back to back to maximize the time of like the intimacy coordinator on set. It's a lot. Like these scenes are so like the chemistry is insane. They're hot scenes. They're very naked for a lot of it. I could imagine like Jacob Tierney, like I've seen a lot of interviews with him. I can imagine that he created like a very safe space on this set, like beautiful, beautiful safe space. But even still, that's a lot and like very impressive in particular to these two guys to be like, well, 4 eventually with Scott and Kit, but um to be doing that. I think that's an intense thing to be going through. Also, these guys are pretty young. Like they're both, I think they're 24 and 25. It's just really good. And yeah, apparently on some days the production was clearing like 8 to 10 pages, which is like an insane pace. It's like the pace that they shoot soap operas at, not like these like prestige dramas. So like just incredible, incredible job. And so yeah, so to keep things tight, so as I said, so Shane, so Hudson Williams and Connor Story, I think as I said, they made like industry rates. There are some like bigger actors in the show. I'm not sure if like feels like a lot of people took like pay cuts to be in this, believing in the work, believing in the artistry. I love it. I'm obsessed. But yes, they made 2 big things that I read about. So firstly, the wardrobe. So I think that's the other thing with this is like 37 days, low budget, but it is about professional hockey players. So like the arenas have to be big, the apartments have to be beautiful, and the wardrobe has to be luxury. So to make the high fashion looks for Shane and Ilya, in particular like in the later episodes when, you know, they are captains of their teams, respective teams, they were carefully curated like thrift or mid-range pieces that were then tailored to look like luxury labels, which is incredible. Incredible job by the costume department. And then the cottage finale was like intentionally written to be like quite small. Obviously, as well, that episode is the crux of the 2 of them. Like the parents come in obviously towards the end, but like this is when they spend long periods of time together. It's just the two of them. It's one location. They're just like being silly, fun boyfriends who love each other. And you know, they're just like playing video games and playing sports and cooking and that's sort of it. But obviously filming in this one location meant that episode 6 could be a lot cheaper than the other 5 episodes. So they could sort of reduce that down from a cast and, you know, travel permits and having people on set. And it meant that they could really focus on the cinematography. And like for me, like especially like that scene by the fire when like Ilya has his head on Shane's knee. Oh, it's actually so beautiful, and it's when they're like fully connecting and they're talking about their families and falling in love with one another. Okay, that is everything I currently know about Heated Rivalry. Try to do as much digging as possible. Um, as I said, I've just fallen in love with this show. There was a time when I thought I was in a bubble. I was like, this is an echo chamber, and the echo chamber is hot gay hockey show. But actually, it turns out this is one of the biggest shows on the planet. Like, this is being reported in Variety, in the New York Times. Like, it is everywhere. It is not just me and people like me who are watching this show. It is a big, big group of people. I'm so happy for all of them. I'm so proud of them. So yeah, let's jump into episode 1.
Ilya Rozanov?
Shane Hollander up.
We will be seeing each other a lot.
You look pretty.
You're wearing makeup too.
Not yet. Well, if I come to 1410 tonight, it's 9 o'clock.
I might open.
I might knock.
Was it bad?
Oh, no. Opposite. It's too much, too good. What you do? Is someone chasing you?
I'm standing in the hallway like an idiot.
You are homeless.
So, what's my name gonna be?
Jane.
We're both in tuxedos out in public.
See you next season.
Okay, team, let's get into episode 1, Rookies. It is December 2008. We are in Regina, Saskatchewan, not Canadian. As I said up front, I know literally nothing about hockey at all, but we are at the International Prospect Cup, which after doing some Googling, is like a tournament between all the countries, and it's like a high level scouting tournament. So they put like all the young players in. I think this is under 20s from my research because it's in December. And yeah, so they put all the sort of like best players in and then they scout from there. We open on the sound of like a lighter flicking on and off, not working. And we see Mr. Ilya Rozanov trying to light a cigarette outside next to a no smoking sign. And then we get Golden Retriever Shane Hollander walking up and he's like, I just wanted to introduce myself. And then he's like, oh, you're not supposed to smoke here. But he makes like he does a lot of like hand gestures and speaks sort of slowly. And I think this is like, he's not 100% sure how good Ilya's English is. This is a joke that goes throughout the entire show about how good his English is. Obviously, Connor's story is American. He is not Russian. So I think the joke is like sort of like double layered, which is pretty good. And then, you know, Shane is just like, he's so excited to meet him. He's so excited. He's like, you're such an awesome player to watch. And Ilya is like, yes. And then Shane is like, okay, that was not the interaction I thought I was going to get. And sort of just like awkwardly hangs around. I think he's sort of like, maybe we'll have another chat. And then he's like, okay, well, good luck with the tournament. And like starts to walk off. And then Ilya's like, you will not be so nice when we beat you. And Shane's like, that's not happening. And the reason the show, I mean, we're like 1 minute in, I think. And like, they set up these two characters so perfectly within this first scene, right? Like we've got Ilya smoking next to a no smoking sign. He looks pissed off, right? I think like you can sort of tell that he does not want to be in Canada. And Shane is so happy. He's so fun. He's like running up. He's like, we get to play hockey against each other, like this thing that I love. And Ilya's like, yeah, cool, whatever, mate. Like, leave me alone. And I love it. And yeah, and he's like, look, I'll see you in the finals. So then we get to the finals, and Canada and Russia are playing each other, and we get the sort of like sportscaster voiceover, and they mention that Ilya and Shane are like the biggest prospects for this cup, and like the ones that the scouts are looking out for. So like right from the beginning, we get this like Ilya Rozanov, Shane Hollander against each other vibes. The sportscasters are like dissecting Shane and Ilya. And when they talk about Shane, they're like, he's not sociable, but he has a high hockey IQ. I've seen a lot of posts recently just talking about the fact that like Shane might be autistic. And I actually hadn't thought about that when I watched the show through, but now I had just been like scouring through the episodes just to make notes, you know, to talk about it, and was like, yes, I think they were pointing to it within this like this overview, and I just did not pick up on that. So yeah, we'll talk about that more and more throughout, but I think it's a real possibility. I think in particular it came up quite a lot in a couple of things in the final episode, but we'll get there. And then they talk about Ilya, and they're like, oh, he's a really strong skater, which is really funny because I don't think Connor Story could skate before he did this show. And I saw an interview with him where he was like, my two main focuses were having a Russian accent and having to figure out to skate, and like just hope that the acting worked. The acting worked, Connor. The acting worked. Do not worry. And the Ilya gets under other players' skins, and they're like, when he's on your team, he's the best, but when he's playing against you, like it's the worst. And again, just such a great setup for these two. We then see Shane and Ilya sort of like watching each other play. So, you know, as Canada is playing, we see Ilya in the stands watching him. And then later on, we see Russia playing, and we see Shane and his mom. And again, we sort of get that dynamic, you know, Shane's parents are always around. They're always around. And Ilya's parents are never around. Well, his dad is never around, really. Anyway, Russia win the cup, and then we get this shot of the Russian team sort of celebrating, and then Shane just like sort of like passing in front of the camera, like upset, and we see that again later. And I just feel like these shots in particular, like you would not believe how tight the budget was. I don't think like this looks so high quality and so premium, and they shot it for like 12 mil, crazy. And then they do this sort of like lineup where like all the players are shaking each other hands. We get this a lot throughout the show. There, you know, we sort of see Ilya coming along, and then as he sees Shane, he's like, see you at the draft. And then we get to the draft. So we find out that Ilya was picked number 1 and Shane 2. I was not 100% sure what that means, but I think it just means that like a lot of people wanted Ilya. I don't know. I don't really understand how drafts work in hockey. But anyway, there is a shot. So we find this information out when they're like on a podium. So Ilya's in the 1 spot and Shane is next to him in the 2 spot. And Ilya is like beaming with happiness. And I do think in this moment, that is not Ilya Rozanov, that is Connor Story. He is like so excitable in this moment. And I think it's the one, we might see it a few more times throughout, but like he's definitely breaking character, but it's so fun. And it's so happy. And Shane is like dead inside. He's so upset that he's number 2. And I saw a comment on TikTok that like their love language is rage baiting. And like I think this is the first time you properly see that. Obviously we sort of see it in that first like interaction they have, but especially here where Ilya like could not care less that Shane is upset about being number 2. He's just so happy. But yeah, so Shane is now on the Montreal Metros and Ilya plays for Boston. And we sort of find out that those teams are rivals as well. Like they play each other a lot, and I think there's like a sort of like notable rivalry between the two. We then see them with their families. So we see Shane first, and Shane is with both of his parents. He still is a real sad sack about being chose second. I feel like second isn't that bad, but he's really, really upset. And the owner or whatever of Montreal is talking to his parents with Shane there. And, you know, the camera sort of just pans on Shane. He's just like visibly upset. And then we also get this sort of comment from the manager of the fact that he is thrilled that that Shane is Asian or Asian Canadian, and like, you know, they're known for breaking boundaries. And, you know, it's interesting, like I said up front, it's adding in this like diversity element, I think is great. Like he could have been a white golden boy, and I think it would have really played into a lot of stereotypes. And I think adding in this layer of diversity really matters. And also it, you know, it'll be interesting to see in the future, because we haven't seen that yet, how Montreal handles the fact. I'm assuming that they're going to come out at some point. How they handle it when they, you know, they talked in 2009 about breaking boundaries. I don't think they're going to be breaking that many. And yeah, so Shane's mom is Asian and his dad is white, and his mom is like a momager. So she is Shane's manager, and you know, throughout the whole season, she is doing like deals for him and stuff. We then see Ilya is on a balcony above where they are, where Shane and his family are, and he's like watching them. And then he's having a similar conversation with the owner of the Boston team. But the Boston manager like is talking to the dad. You know, he's like, "I'm so happy to have your son. Like, he's so incredible, whatever." And then the dad is like, "Yeah, he's not that incredible. He needs discipline and he's very lazy and he needs to be better." And then Ilya is like, don't worry, I'm going to work really hard for you. And then in Russian, the dad is like, "I told you not to speak. Like, why are you speaking?" Guys, we are 4 minutes and 46 seconds into this show. And the entirety of who these guys are, their relationship to each other, their relationship socially, like to the world, and their relationship to their families has been set up. We're done. Like within less than 5 minutes of the show having began, we know literally everything we need to know about these two characters to get us to the next part of this story. The way that they do storytelling in this show is actually unreal. And this first less than 5 minutes shows us that. We're done. Like, we've got all the information. We're ready to go on to the next thing. Let's move on. And it's just, oh, mwah, well done. Well done to everybody in the show. Anyway, we get to the next morning and Shane wakes up early. You know, we see him like patting down the bed, putting it right. Shane is a perfectionist. He likes things the way that they should be. We will see that throughout the show. He goes down to the gym and he gets on a bike and he starts going, and then Ilya joins him and is on the bike next to him, and they have this sort of like bike rivalry, and I'd like trying to beat each other. And you know, there's an element of like the fact that they hate each other, but these two people never hate each other from a competition perspective. I don't think. I think they get annoyed at each other sometimes, mainly because of external factors and people telling them that they should be like the best. But they're just like two boys having fun and like being good at the thing that they do. And then they sit on the floor. They're like, you know, they're both like sweating, and they've just been for a big sexy bike ride together. And this scene is, oh, like it's sort of like we've gotten the context set up, and now we need to set up the heat of the heated rivalry. So they're sat on the floor across from each other, and they're like sweaty and staring at one another. And then Ilya has water. Shane didn't bring water, which is interesting because I do think that Shane would have brought water, but that's okay. Ilya's drinking his water, and then he offers his water bottle to Shane. As he passes it, their like hands touch. He's like downing this water, and they're just like staring at each other's sweaty skin. Like they're staring at legs, they're staring at necks, they're staring at chests, they're staring at arms, they're staring at mouths. Like it is heated. Oh, it's like this moment is so hot, and it's so like there is so much unsaid. And then Shane passes the bottle back, their hands touch again. There's just like so much sexual tension. And I think the other element of this is that Ilya already knows that he likes men, right? We find out not far from now that he has been with a man before. So I think he's looking at Shane as like, I want to be with him. We're not fully sure right now if Shane knows that he's into men or not. So very exciting to see how that develops. But yeah, they love each other already, or at least at the bare minimum, they are hot for one another. We then get to the next Prospect Cup, and it's New Year's Eve, and Ilya is in like a shitty hotel room. I do love the development of the hotel rooms as the season goes on. This hotel room is disgusting. It's like almost like a motel. He gets a call from his brother Alexei, who like is asking for more money, and we basically find out that Ilya has given all of his like upfront money to his brother already, and then his father calls straight afterwards and scolds him for having lost against the Czech team. And Ilya's like, it's fine, like we as a team will do better, and his father was like, I don't care about the team, you have to do better. And we then find out that dynamic of the fact that like his dad doesn't, he doesn't love him. He doesn't care about him. He doesn't want to be shown up by his son, and he needs his son to win. And that's all he cares about. He cares about his son winning. And his brother does not care about him at all as a brother. He just cares about the money that he has. And it's really sad, and it gets sadder. But that is his like family dynamic all set up. And it actually is just like so sad when obviously we find out much later on about his mom, and he loved his mom, and I think she was the parent and family to him. And these two people, his dad and his brother, just aren't family. They want him to succeed so that they succeed, and they want money from him, and that's it. Oh, it's awful. And then we get a copy from the last Prospect Cup. So Canada won this time, and we get Canada celebrating. Obviously, Shane is there, and then we get Rozanov just like sliding in front of the camera. And then again, they are doing their little lineup and shaking each other's hands. And then we get Shane, because he was the winner, being like, "See you in October," which I think is the start of the season. I was trying to figure out timings of this, but yeah, I think December 2008 was the first Prospect Cup. And then I think like maybe a few months later, they got like picked. And then they did the Prospect Cup again in 2009, December, but like New Year's 2010. So we're in 2010. And then in theory, they are starting their like rookie season that October, so October 2010. So that's when they think they'll see each other again. But actually, they end up seeing each other 6 months later, and it is the summer of 2010. And so yeah, it's like 18 months since their first meeting. Just trying to like keep up with the timeline. I also do love in this, and like I said, I haven't read the book, but I think that I think the timeline is more compressed potentially in the book. But I just love that they don't see each other a lot, right? Like they're probably aware of each other because they're both slowly becoming quite famous, and people know who they are, and they're probably on TV quite a lot. But they don't actually interact that much throughout the years. But yes, they end up now meeting in the summer of 2010. So they go to a photo shoot that is like pitching them as rivals. And, Rosanov is like, you look pretty with your makeup on, and which is so sweet. And, he already thinks he's hot. So it's great. And they just like can't keep it together. They're supposed to be doing these like very serious shots. And I think they're both a bit like, this is dumb. Like, what a waste of time. And then they are sat together, and Ilya's like, when did you find out about this? And Hollander's like, oh, like a couple of days ago actually. And he's like, what about you? And he was like, I didn't find out about it, this was my suggestion. And it's interesting that Ilya suggested this. Like, I was like, maybe he suggested it to get them together, or like he is like a PR machine that is like, well, if we pitch one another like right before our rookie season against one another, that'll like get more views on us and people will care about us more. I don't know. And I like to think it's both. I like to think that Ilya is a sexed up PR machine. And then we see Shane with his mom. His mom is like talking about brand deals and how he needs to be like a good representation for young people. And again, I think Shane is a little bit like, yeah, cool, but I just want to play hockey and have fun. But whatever. Anyway, we get to the showers. These showers are gross, by the way. They're like such like gym showers, and I hate that they have the pumpy soap. Like I'm like, what type of soap is that? What? I hate it. I hate these sorts of showers, and I'm very happy this interaction happens, but I am sad that it happens in this gross shower. Anyway, Shane is in the shower. He's, and it's a communal shower. It's a communal open men's shower. So like people showering next to each other naked, I don't think is actually strange. I think that's what happens in these showers. But yes, Shane is in there. And then Ilya comes and joins him. He sort of notices he's there. We then get this wide shot of them both fully naked. And I didn't know this, but I saw a comment on TikTok or somewhere, and someone was like, these boys have hockey bombs, and that is very important to the story. And like I said, I don't really know anything about hockey. Apparently hockey players have huge bombs, and like these guys do as well. And I just really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that was a detail. I did see an interview with Connor's story, because they were talking about the fact that like, their bodies have become a discussion point, and the fact that like everyone's been very complimentary of their bodies. Like I think he was worried actually it was going to go the other way and people would be like negative or like pick holes in their bodies and stuff. And he was like, he, as I said, up front, Connor did a lot of work post being in Joker to like get this role, including putting on muscle mass. But he was like, I worked my bum a lot, and I'm just really happy people notice. So, good for them. Good for these guys. Anyway, they are showering. They're like washing each other with this pumpy soap. And then they sort of like both start noticing each other, but like when the other one's back is turned. So they're like checking each other out, but without the other one knowing. And then they sort of start to look at one another. And then Ilya raises his eyebrows at Hollander's dick, and is basically like, you're hard. And Hollander like turns around and he's like, fuck off. And I would love an edit, if someone could do an edit of all the times that Shane tells Ilya to fuck off. Like that is his answer to being rage baited, actually. This is like another instance of being rage baited. And then Ilya starts touching himself, looking at Shane, and then he basically motions for Shane to do the same. Shane is like a little shocked and taken aback that this is happening, but he in no way runs away. He's not freaked out. He's a bit like, he's turned on, right? He's excited. And then Ilya, carries on, and then Shane is like, not here, and then turns off the shower, and runs away. He not runs away. He just goes to get changed. Guys, we're 15 minutes in. So when I first started watching the show, I watched this show the day it came out. Don't ask me how. And I was like, oh, this show's going to be such a slow burn. Like, Shane is not going to, be coming out as gay. He's going to be like really defensive about it. It's going to take him a long time to figure out that he likes men. 15 minutes in, and this is happening. Anyway, we then go to the locker room. Shane obviously speedy got ready. I think he was trying to get ready quick enough so that, actually, I think he was trying to get ready quick enough so that he could leave quickly. But then actually he's taking a long time to put his shoes on. I feel like he got ready quickly and then was like, actually, I'm just going to see what happens. And I'm so happy he did. Anyway, he's like putting his shoes on. Ilya comes out in a towel. Ugh, Ilya Rosanov's body, Connor story. Mwah. Good job. He's like low. He's wearing his towel so low. He's got like such defined that like deep V. Unreal. Unreal. Like, even if Shane was a bit on the fence, this pushed him over. This pushed him over the fence. And Shane's like, look, let's just forget about what happened. And Ilya's like, you're a really bad liar. And then he's like, give me your room number. And then like straight away, Shane's like, gives him his room number. He's fully in. And then Ilya's like, okay, so if I come to your room at 9 p.m., what's going to happen? And then Shane's like, I might open. And he's like, I might knock. Oh, guys, it's so hot. It's so hot. Yes, good job. I just love it. I love that Shane is all in. Like, he's freaking out a little bit. And we'll talk about this as we go along. But like, he's never freaking out about being gay. He's freaking out about being caught. That's why he didn't want anything to happen in the shower. He was like, this is a public place. He is never, ever worried about being gay. And I love that. I love it. Anyway, Shane's in his room. So we go to that night. It's, I don't know, 8:30 or whatever. Shane's in his room. Also, sorry, just super quickly. I was thinking about the parallels with this and Red, White, and Royal Blue. A scene like this happens in Red, White, and Royal Blue, right? Where, so for those who haven't seen it, it's very similar setup. It's like the Prince of England and the son of the American president are start hooking up, and they have like a first sort of hookup. I think they make out or something, and then he's like, I'm gonna come to your room at midnight, and then they have a very similar interaction. When I was watching that movie, I was like, midnight's so late, because I'm like, imagine being stressed, like very similar to this, where it's like the first hookup, the first proper hookup. Imagine like being stressed that somebody's coming to your room and then you're going to hook up and it's going to be really stressful. And especially for Shane, where it's like the first like gay experience. That's also sort of what is happening in Red, White, and Royal Blue. And they say midnight. So you're just hanging around so late. I was so happy in the show it was 9 p.m. I was like, thank God. Ilya Rozanov he knows. And like these boys are like hockey players. They need their sleep. Can't be coming around at midnight. It's not okay. Anyway, he sat in his room. He like gets into a suit at one point. He then gets into like casual clothes. He turns the light on. He turns it off. He doesn't know what to do with himself. Oh, I love Shane. I love Shane Hollander so much. Anyway, Ilya gets to the room and he comes in. He's like walking around the foyer and he's like, oh, I thought you might have chickened out. And Shane's like, I'm no chicken, but like we do need to talk. And then Ilya just like pushes him against the wall and starts kissing him. And it's like, we don't need to talk about anything. Like, what could we need to talk about? And literally they just start fully making out. And then Shane is like, has his hand in Ilya's pants in seconds. Again, there is no like Shane stopping himself, being worried about this situation. Like, he is all in. And this is the first time where we get Ilya in the throes of passion calling him Hollander. I just love that they use each other's last names. It's so like sports coded, obviously. Anyway, he like has his hand in his pants. Shane gives him a blowjob, like, and Shane's like down to do it straight away. Again, he's just all in. And Ilya then gets him to stop, and Shane is a bit like, oh, is it bad? And Ilya's like, no, it's too good. And it's just like, oh, I'm so happy for Shane. Like, what a great first gay experience for him to be having with this man who is like stressful because he's a bit of a dick, but like is just so like positive towards him. And he's like, you're doing a great job, but it's too good and I need a minute. Oh, I love it. And then Ilya's, is like, Shane, is this your first time with a man? And Shane's like, yeah, of course. And he's like, what about you? And he's like, no, I was with my coach's son. And, he explains in this moment that like it was safe because they both shared the same secret. And they both had the same amount to lose. And, they're both in Russia and Russian. And we'll obviously get to that probably, I think, in episode 2, but there's obviously a lot more issues in Russia with being gay, and Ilya's very aware of that. But I think this conversation really sets up this dynamic for Ilya and Shane as well, right? Like they're like the same amount of famous, they have the same amount to lose. They're both in exactly the same position. And so this, like, them being together or, hooking up with one another is so safe for the two of them because they share the same secret. And I think it was like very clever to, well, firstly, to have Ilya have had experience, because it means it's not super tentative. Like one of them is pushing the momentum forward a little bit. Like Ilya already knows that this is what he wants. Shane knows that as well. But I think if they both had not been with men before, I think then, it might have been a little bit slower. And then Ilya's like, well, I'm just curious and you meant me curious. And I love that framing of this. Like, especially for Shane, I think Shane is a little bit like, well, I'm curious. I'm just figuring it out. And, it takes him a long time to realize this is who he is, but he knows that he's curious and he knows he wants this with Ilya. And that's enough, I think. And then Ilya's like, did you like going down on me? And, Shane's like, yeah. And then you think that Ilya's going to be like, okay, great, let me like return the favor. But he's like, no, shall I lie down and let you do that to me some more? And I love Ilya as well. I love the two of them. I love this. This is their love language, right? This is their like rage baiting. Anyway, Ilya goes and like lies on the bed and he's like hurriedly taking all of his clothes off. He's just like chucking stuff around the room. And then he's like, Shane, I want you to get undressed. And Shane's like, why? And he's like, you saw me in the shower. And he's like, yeah, great. I want to see more of you. Like, I want to see it now. And again, I just love that they fancy each other straight away. Like, Ilya is so good at positive reinforcement. He's like, I'm really into you. Take off your clothes. And it is, as Jacob Tierney said, this is pure queer joy. There is no shame in what they are doing. Again, there is like a fear of being caught, like because of like the repercussions socially and globally. But when they're together, they just really fancy each other. And like they just like run at what they're doing, right? Like there's no apprehension whatsoever. Anyway, Shane gets undressed and he folds his clothes up because he's a good little boy. And he's like, he's like stood up over the bed. Ilya's lay down. Again, the lighting in this room is unreal. It is beautiful. And then they lie down next to each other and, Ilya's like, what do you want to do? And Shane's like, I don't know. And then Ilya starts to give him a hand job, but then Shane takes the initiative and then just starts going down on him. And again, it's just like pure queer joy. Oh, I just love it. And then we have to talk about their body positions when this happens. So Ilya is like lay down, but with his head on a pillow. So he has like a little bit of a curve and then he's got one leg up. Shane's head obviously is in his lap and then his whole back is along the bed, but he's got one leg bent and then one leg out. And obviously his bum is a nice shake, but they look like a painting. It is a work of art because of the way they are lit and the way that they are sat and like how their bodies are like, oh, put this in a museum. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Anyway, then Ilya starts to come. He like moves Shane out of the way and comes in his hand or whatever. This was going to be explicit, I told you. And then he rage baits him again and he's like, not bad for a first timer. And Shane is like, fuck you, Rosanov. And this is actually the first time I think that he uses his surname. And he'll be using it again in a second. And then Rosanov is like, okay, that was fun, and then starts to leave. Again, just like he's such a little shit. And I love it. Hollander is like pissed off. And then, Rosanov is like, what, you need something? And, he's like, you're a fucking asshole. And then Rosanov gets on top of Hollander and is like, you think I would leave you like this? Oh, I love them. I love them. And I just love this like flirty banter And then he's like, let me show you how to do this, kid. Oh, it's so hot. Then he starts to give him a blowjob, and then he comes very quickly, but is like screaming Rosanov as it happens. It's great. And then they both have come, and Hollander sits up, and then he starts to worry about the fact that Ilya might tell people are going to find out, and Ilya's a bit like, what the fuck, like, why would I tell anyone? We're in the same position. You need to calm down. But again, it's like, I think this scene in any other show or movie would have been Shane. It would have been him worrying about the fact that he just was with a man, and now that means he's gay. And he's never worried about that. He's never worried. But he is worried about people finding out. And he's worried about what the repercussions on his life would be. Yeah, that's it. And then we scoot forward 3 months, and Shane is watching his love on YouTube. So basically, he is just like watching videos of Ilya being interviewed. I did see a couple of jokes about how like high res this video was on like a 2010 BlackBerry, which is pretty funny. But yeah, he's watching Ilya being interviewed, and basically Ilya was like, in my rookie year, I'm going to score 50 goals. There was like some back and forth about it, but basically him just being a little, a bit of a little shit and being like, I'm going to score 50 goals. And then at one point, someone was like, are you worried about scoring against Hollander? And he's like, oh, is he a goalkeeper now? And I love it. I love it. And Shane has ended up in such a Ilya Rozanov YouTube rabbit hole. We've all been there. We're probably, a lot of us are there now, that he's late for lunch with his parents. It's so great. Anyway, Shane goes to meet his parents, and we find out that he's been asked to be the ambassador for Rolex. And his mom is so excited about this, and again, she's like, they feel like you are the right person for this. You're like so talented, you're so respectable. Like, it does sort of infer a little bit that like, if people knew that he was gay, this would be an issue. His dad then keeps asking him what YouTube is, and like what he was watching on YouTube. And Shane is very 2010, and he's like, I was watching Unlikely Animals Becoming Friends. Like him and Ilya. And then he's like, yeah, I was watching this one about Snake and a baby, and it's like Ilya the snake and Shane the baby gay. His mom is like, his mom was like, well, you should have been watching videos about hockey. And it's like, he was. And then his dad is like, oh, you should watch out for that snake and the baby. The relationship could go south pretty fast. And then his mom is like, oh, I saw on YouTube the other day. I saw Ilya Rosanov talking about the fact that he's going to score 50 goals in his rookie year. He's such a dick. And then she says, fuck him right up the butt. Which I think is probably one of the dumbest lines in the show. There isn't very many cringe lines. This was a little bit of one, but it's funny. And it's like sort of in the background. So look, we'll let it go. And this whole time would like just focus on Shane's face, and he's just like the giddiest little boy. Oh, I love this for him. I love it for him. We then see them on the ice. So Shane and Ilya's teams are playing each other, and the kind of sportscasters over the top are like, who are they going to put in? And we hear the crowd, screaming for Rosanov, and then we get Ilya and Shane against each other, and this is their first ever face-off against one another. And the sportscasters or whatever are like, people have been wanting to see these two boys against each other for a long time. Yeah, we have. And then Montreal win, and Shane is being like interviewed in French, and he's very humble. Like, we'd seen Ilya earlier being like, I'm going to score 50 goals, I'm the best player, da 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 da. And then Shane is like very humble. He's like, it's very much about the team, we're together. And Ilya is in his hotel room watching this, and he's like making fun of Shane. He's like, Mr. Perfect, I speak French, da da, whatever. And it's just, oh, it's so great. And then Alexei, Ilya's brother, calls and asks for more money. He's the fucking worst. Like, ugh, block him, Ilya, block him. Then we go to an all-star game. So North America is playing Team Europe. And so, yeah, Ilya is obviously on Team Europe and Shane is on Team North America. And they're being interviewed together. So they're doing like a press conference. Ilya is asked about, 50 goals. And before he answers, like, we can see under the table, people can't see the table from the front. See under the table from the front, sorry. And so before he answers, he like taps Shane's foot under the table. Oh, so hot. Imagine doing a press conference and your like guy you hooked up with 3 months ago is next to you and then just like touching you underneath the table. So good. And then Ilya gets asked this really long-winded question about like Boston and Montreal not having been in the playoffs for a long time. How do they feel about that? And Shane taps his foot under the table and he's like, I can take this if you want. And I think this is probably supposed to show like Ilya's English isn't that great. Like this question was like super long-winded. I think so anyway. Anyway, Shane jumps in. He does this like perfect answer. Everyone loves him. And then Ilya's like, yeah, sure, what he said. And then they like push their feet together under the table. They're in love already. I love it. I love everything about it. There's then this like shot accuracy thing. I assume this is like a thing that happens in hockey like every now and again. And the sportscaster name drops Scott Hunter, who will become obviously very important soon in a few episodes. But yes, so Ilya goes up to do this thing where you like hit each corner of the net or whatever, and they're like, Scott Hunter is currently the goal setter. He's the person that has the highest, I don't know, shot accuracy or whatever, I don't care. Ilya does it and like he's very excited, and then like Shane goes up to do it and he breaks his record straight away. Oh, these boys. They're sat on the bench. They're both on their benches. They're sort of like baiting each other a little bit. And then, Ilya's like, how was your night? And Shane's like, yeah, it was fine. And then Ilya's like, I think I'm going to go to bed early tonight. And then he like skates past him and gives him his room number. It's so hot. We then meet Scott Hunter. And it's so funny, right? Because the first time you watch this, I'm assuming everybody listening to this has also watched this like 12 million times, but like we don't fully know that Scott is going to be as important as he becomes. But yes, he's asking Shane about Ilya. He's like, that guy's an arsehole, right? And Shane's like, yeah, pretty much. And then Scott's like, oh, so annoying. He's even in the room next door to me. And like this freaks Shane out. Not enough that he doesn't go to Ilya's room, but freaks him out a little bit. And obviously we find out that Scott would never have cared. But in episode 1, we do not know that. Shane then goes to Ilya's room, and Ilya takes ages to answer the door. And Shane like sort of like sneaks in and is like just pissed off that he didn't hurry up. And Ilya's like, are you being chased? And Shay's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And like literally for a split second he's pissed off, and then he just like grabs Ilya and starts making out with him. And I just love it. I love that Shane's only worry in all of this is being caught, and he just fucking has the hots for Ilya. It's just great. They start making out, and then Ilya's like, get on your knees, and Shane does straight away. He like starts giving him a blowjob, and then Ilya like picks him up and carries him to the bed. Ilya then goes down on Shane, and again he's just like screaming Rozanov, and it's like, I get it, but also Scott Hunter is next door, and maybe you, Shane Hollander, don't scream out his name. Maybe we don't have a male voice screaming out Rosanov. Rosanov is then like, get on your stomach, and obviously he wants to penetrate him. And Rosanov is like, have you ever, have you ever done this? And I feel like Shane is like, bitch, like, you're the only man I've been with. Like, what are you talking about? And then, he's like, are you scared? And Shane's like, look, I'm not scared. And Ilya sort of baits him a little bit. And I think Ilya in this moment thinks that he's a bit in denial about being gay. Like, he's like, oh, if I fuck you, does that mean you're gay? Because you've been like sucking my dick. So like, you're gay. But Shane isn't in denial. He's not scared or fearful or shameful. He's not hiding from himself at all, because he's like, yeah, I have a dildo. And, he knows what and who he is. He just can't be that person publicly. And his only fear in this room is Scott Hunter is next door and might find out. And Rosanov is like pretty shocked to the fact he has a dildo, and then mocks him. And then Shane's like, I'm leaving. And he's like, no, I want to fuck you. And I love the way he says this. Like, it's so fun. It's so, so good. But Shane doesn't want his first time to be like in fear or like dampened by the fact that like Scott Hunter is next door. And I think he just wants to scream out Rosanov's name and knows that he can't do that. So yeah, that doesn't happen. Again, little do they know, Scott would not care. But yeah, again, just super quickly, like, these sex scenes are not gratuitous, right? Like, every single one of these sex scenes, we learn something about them, and it shows a development in their relationship. Like, the first one, it was them sussing each other out. It was us learning that, Ilya has been with people before. He is not scared about being gay, but he is scared about people finding out. Hollander is exactly the same. In this one, we find out that Shane is not in denial about being gay, and that he's actively, has a dildo at home, and he has no fear and no hatred towards himself about being gay. He's just so worried about being caught. And we learn that through these sex scenes. And what they are doing with storytelling in this show is just unreal. It's so great. And then Ilya's like, okay, cool, well, we can just have sex next time. And Shane is like, what do you mean next time? And Ilya's like, well, we play against each other in 2 weeks. And then Shane is like, okay, cool, but where are we going to go? And Ilya's like, are you homeless? And I love it. I love it. And I think in this moment, Shane was obviously like, they're doing all of this stuff in hotel rooms, right? And away from where they live. The first time his parents were there, but like, it's almost a bit like vacation sex. It's almost a bit like something he's doing when he's not at home, and it's not in his real life. It is when he is away and in hotels. And I don't think Ilya has an issue with, I think being Ilya is being gay or bisexual. He has sex with women as well. And I think for him, that happening in his house is not shocking in his world and where he is and where he lives. His brother calls him the F word at one point. And I think, to be honest with you, I think he is sort of out with his family, or at least his brother knows. The people around him know. No one in Shane's life knows. The only person who knows is Ilya. And so I think for Shane to then bring being gay into his home is such a huge move for him. And I love that Ilya like pushes him in that way. It's great. Ilya then gives him his phone number, and they become Jane and Lily in each other's phones, which will be important as we go along, obviously. And then they carry on hooking up, and then they make this plan for in 2 weeks they are going to have sex. However, it gets to 2 weeks, and Ilya is in Boston. He's flying to Montreal for the game, and the weather is so bad that the game gets postponed. And Ilya is in the airport, and he's like fully stressed out, and upset about not seeing Shane.
Sad times. And then, given that the game is cancelled, one of the other players on the Montreal team asked Shane over. And it feels like this is the kind of the first time he's made a friend on the team, because the guy is like, Hayden is his name. Hayden is like, oh, Jackie would love to have you over. That's my wife, by the way. And so it just feels like, it's been almost a year, I think, that they have been on these teams. So Shane hasn't really made any friends yet. And this becomes his best friend. So it's really nice. We see Ilya go home in Boston. Obviously, his flight got cancelled. And we meet one of the best women ever, Svetlana. She's in his house. And then they have a little chat. She's Russian as well. They've, known each other since they were children. And then they have sex. And obviously that's when we learn that Ilya is bisexual. And then we go forward 3 months later. Love how we whiz through time. It's great. We're in Vegas and it's Rookie of the Year time. And Ilya and Shane are up against each other and some other random who we never see. And we find out that Shane won. Good for him. And then Shane is at the bar and he's drinking his ginger ale, which will become a joke throughout the show. And Scott Hunter comes to have a chat with him. He also says, Scott Hunter comes up to him and he's like, I hope that's a ginger ale, Rock. And Shane is like, oh, yes, Mr. Hunter, I would never indulge in front of you. And I actually, again, I hadn't caught that on a first viewing, but it's interesting, for what's to come with Scott and how he impacts like Ilya and Shane's relationship and their story, that Shane looks up to him so much. Like, he's obviously a much more seasoned player. He's quite a bit older than them. He's like the captain of the New York team. And I just think I hadn't really picked up on the fact that like Shane in particular, but I do think that both of them do really look up to Scott. So I think like what happens in episode 5, I think actually obviously matters a lot, but matters so much to the fact that like they look up to this guy as well. And he's probably like the type of player that like they would have had posters of on their walls and stuff. He's very famous and yeah. Anyway, Scott Hunter is then like, oh, Shane, should we all do some shots together? Where's your boy Rosanov? And Shane is stressed. And he's like, what do you mean? He's not my boy. And Scott's like, oh, no, it's more just like, you guys are paired up all the time. Like, it's Rozanov, Hollander. And Shane's like, we're not friends. He's not my boy. And Scott's like, okay, cool. And I wonder in this moment if Scott, at like the bare minimum, has an inkling that Shane is gay. Because he was worried about like the your boy comment. And I was like, because obviously we know that Scott Hunter is gay. And I wonder if he was a bit like, something's happening here. I don't know if he pieced together, obviously, that Ilya and Shane are like hooking up, but I have a feeling he might have been like, maybe Shane is gay. Anyway, Shane has some shots with Scott and some of the other players, and then he's like scouring the party like the Terminator looking for Rosanov. He can't find him. And, he's got that little like couple of drinks, I want to go make out with someone vibe. That's how it feels. Anyway, he goes upstairs and Rosanov is on a balcony. Just a quick side note, these boys are in like beautiful tuxes and they both look so hot in them. So good for them, good for the costume department. And then they get into a fight. Like Hollander like thinks that Rosanov is sulking because he lost. But and so Hollander sort of like goes off at him. He's like, I'm always fucking losing to you and I win this one time and you're like sulking. But really what we find out is that Ilya has to go home in 3 days and, will have to face his dad and spend the summer with his dad and with his brother and, hating himself. And I'm a bit like, what does he do over the summer? Like I think maybe in episode 4 or episode 5, we see a few of his summers where he's just like alone and working out. And I think that's it. Like, and maybe partying a little bit. But yeah, I mean, obviously he isn't close with his family. So he's obviously stressed about that. Shane then starts to walk away and then he's like, okay, well, I'll see you next season, I suppose. And I think Shane had come up to the balcony thinking they were going to hook up and then they got into this fight. And then he was like, I'll see you next season, which becomes like their line to each other. And then as he's walking off, Ilya like pushes him against a wall, and then they just start like heavily making out. And these boys in these tuxes. Shane then gets pissed off, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing? We're in tuxedos in public." Yeah, you are. And Ilya's like, "Nobody's looking. Like, just calm down." And Shane is like, "You don't know that." And again, Shane is never upset about being gay, but he's very upset about being caught. He does not want his life ruined. Shane walks off, and Ilya retorts, "See you next season." End of episode. Oh, this is a perfect episode 1. It's so well done. As I said, within 5 minutes, the context of these boys has been set up. We know that they're like top picks. We know that they're rivals. We know one is a bad boy. We know one is a golden retriever. We know one has like this beautiful family, but they're a little bit pushy and like they're very around the fact that he's a hockey player and their lives are sort of tied to his lives. And then one of them is Russian. His family hate him. They only really care about whether he wins or not. And they just are all for money. And that is set up within the first 4 minutes and 46 seconds of this show. It's unreal. And then we get, within 15 minutes, they are hooking up. And as I said, pure queer joy. There is never an element of either of them being worried about the fact that they are gay. It is all about whether they're going to get caught or not. And so we get these like 2 beautiful like sex scenes. We get them, they've switched numbers now. So like, this is not a 2-time thing. This is like, they're ongoing, they're texting. It's great. And then, you know, we sort of end on this note of like, they're not going to see each other for the whole summer. The season is over. We see each other during the season because that's sort of how we mainly are tied together. And they're both in their beautiful tuxes and they're gone. It's perfection. It's so, so good. All right, guys, it might be time for everyone to get a little drink, some water, as we delve into episode 2.
You will murder me.
It's okay to sex me before the game. What the fuck?
You were hard, weren't you?
You asked.
No, I didn't. Still won't. Still won't. I'm dead.
That was so fucking hot. Go fuck yourself, Rosanov.
Russia is not safe for folks like that.
We are not anything.
I need to win.
I was busy.
With who? You haven't answered a text from me in like 6 months.
So being boring is genetic.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Now take off your clothes. You want to know how it feels? Holding the cup.
You fucking asshole.
I can barely describe it. Oh my God, Hollander.
So, I'm off.
Goodbye, Hollander.
Okay, team, let's get into episode 2. Is this going to be the longest episode of any podcast ever? Maybe. But look, this show is worth it. Let's get in. This episode is called Olympians for obvious reasons. I would say this episode is a little bit sadder than episode 1. Episode 1 was like full of like fun and angst and tension and sexiness and excitement. This episode is a little bit sad, but let's do it. Let's dive in. So obviously at the end of episode 1, we just covered it, but at the end of episode 1, Shane was pissed off with Ilya because he tried to get with him in a public setting in a tuxedo, wasn't happy. We're now in the summer of 2011, so Vegas happened, I think, like just before this. Yeah, because he was going home, right? He was going home in 3 days. So this is Ilya in Moscow, and we see Shane in Montreal. They are both running. They both have like very good running outfits. I think I said this up front, but like the costumes in this are so good. They both look incredible all the time. But yes, Shane is in Montreal, as I said. He's running, and he gets a little text from Ilya, who's like, "Are you still mad about Vegas?" Shane is like, "I'm not mad about anything," and they're just like smirking their little heads off. And we sort of like follow them through this, through the years and through the texts that they send to each other. I would say one thing that I think isn't fully accurate in this show is like the texting is quite ad hoc. And
I just would have loved to see more of their texting, because I think the flirting and the banter over text is really, really fun. So I would have loved to just see a little bit more of that. It's not the biggest deal. The show is incredible. I'll take less texting. It's fine. Um, we're then in fall 2011, so a couple of months later. Montreal are playing Boston. Shane scores. Ilya is like pissed off, like skating behind him. Ilya then texts Shane, and he's like, "What is a lonely girl to do in Montreal?" But Shane just like ignores it. And, I think he's now at the point where he's just like, this is too dangerous. Like, I can't be getting with this guy. He's a little trouble. He's a little, he's all over the place. Um, I can't do it. Then we come around to like January time, 2012. Ilya texts Shane. He's like, "Do you want to come in Boston?" And Shane's like, "Your English isn't great. Like, what are you talking about?" And he's like, "No, my English is perfect. Reread it." And he's like, "Do you want to come in Boston?" Then now spring 2012, Shane is watching the playoffs at home. Montreal didn't make it, but Boston is playing in the playoffs. And Ilya like sends him a little teasy text, and he's like, "Why aren't you here?" And Shane is like chewing the drawstring of his hoodie, like smirking whilst he's texting him, and it's so cute. And he's like, "Fuck you, Lily." And then we see Ilya text him back, and he's got his necklace in his mouth, and they're just the cutest. I love both of them. Oh, it's just so great. And then Shane says, "See you next year." So it's already been a full year since Vegas, and they haven't seen each other. I mean, they've physically seen each other. They've been playing against one another, but yeah, they haven't hooked up or hung out. And then Ilya's like, "I still want that asshole." Obviously, one of the conversations that they'd had pre the situation in Vegas was like, eventually they were going to have sex, and that hasn't happened yet. So yeah, obviously Shane is pretty shocked by this, and then like puts his phone away. And then we're in fall 2012, so the new season. Shane is in his like a shared hotel room with Hayden, and he gets a Boston address through from Ilya. So obviously they're in Boston, and he's like, "What is this?" And he's like, "It's my address, like come over." And he's like, "No, I don't want that." And he's like, "Well, I'll send you something you do want," and sends him a dick pic. I don't know whose dick that is, but he gets one. Then winter 2013, so January 2013, they're both like working out separately. Ilya is like sexting Shane again. We see that Ilya is watching Shane in like an ad. It looks like a aftershave ad or something. One interesting note, and I don't really know why, but like Shane does a lot of like endorsements and ads. And he's kind of more into that side of like the hockey, as well as obviously being a great player. We never see Ilya doing any of that, so I don't know, just an interesting little tidbit. I wonder if it's just Shane has his momager. It's interesting that we never see like Ilya having a manager and having to do like all of that type of stuff, and him just fucking hating it, because Shane sort of just goes along with it. And then we are in spring 2013. We're just like rattling through. Ilya texts Shane and says, "If Boston win this round, I get to fuck you in the fall." So hot. And then Shane is finally like, he's back in. He's back in and says, "What do I get if Montreal wins?" And Ilya says, "Same." Oh, it's great. It's funny because in episode 1, I was saying how I thought this show was going to be a bit of a slow burn and it was going to take a long time. This, I suppose, is the slow burn. Like, this is like almost 2 years of like nothing happening, but they just rattle through it in like 5 minutes. And it's great because we get a bit of both, right? We get a bit of like this like slow burn and this build, and Shane sort of taking a step back. But I think in a lot of like TV shows, this would be a whole episode of like the will they, won't they? And it's like 5 minutes in this show. And that's what we all want. That's what we're here for. We don't want a whole episode of someone being like, "Maybe I'll get back with you." It's like, honey, you're in. You're bought in. So it's fall 2013. It's been 2 seasons. Montreal are playing Boston. Ilya texts Shane before the game and says, "How many times can you come in an hour?" The rage baiting is back. I feel like Ilya knew he was back in, and he was like, "I'm gonna rage bait the shit out of this guy, and he's gonna let me fuck him later." Shane goes to message him like, "We're about to play each other, like what the fuck," which is very fun, and I love it. And then he doesn't. He kind of like puts his phone back a few times. Not really sure what to do. And then Shane is like, maybe twice. Shane's back in. He's back in. And then Ilya is like, well, where are we meeting? And then Shane's like, we're not. Fuck you. And then little sassy Shane is like, if you're lucky, I'll text you after the game. Oh, it's so good. And then Ilya texts back and says, are you as hard as I am now? Ah, I love it. I love them. I love them. Imagine like going out onto the ice and playing. Like, I think they are both like, they're always like facing off against each other now. Imagine that happening and you having sexted like right before this happened, and then knowing like this is on afterwards. Oh, so good. Montreal win the game. We then see Ilya walk into the back of like Shane's building. Shane opens the door and Ilya says one of my favorite lines, and I can't do it, but it's just so great in his like Russian accent. He's like, "You will murder me," and it's like he's like, "You will murder me," and he looks so worried. And Shane's like, "Yeah, I might fucking murder you. Like, get inside." And then he like pushes him against the wall, and he's like pissed about the sexting. But I feel like Ilya's like, "This is hot. Like, this is great." And Ilya's like, "You were hard, weren't you? Like, you were hard the whole game." And I just love it. And then they sort of like fight, run up the stairs into the apartment. They're just, oh, it's so great. And then Ilya walks in. He's like, "Oh, this place is really nice." And Shane starts like going off about how he's the landlord and he bought all this property. And Ilya's like, "Okay, cool." And Shane's like, "You asked." And Ilya's like, "I didn't. I did not ask." I love it. I love it. They then just start making out. Like, they just have so much chemistry, these two. Like, it's incredible. So yeah, they're making out. They then go to the bedroom and Ilya's like mocking Shane for how many pillows he has. And they're sort of having this back and forth. And then Ilya's like, "You come here." And Shane's like, "No, you come here." And it's just like, I love that their dynamic is sort of like both of them now. I think like the first like 2 times I hooked up, it was like, I think it was Ilya pushing it a little bit more, or like, you know, showing Shane what to do. But Shane is like fully at the same level. And I love it. I love it. And then they're like making out with no top on, like no tops on. And I love the like Russian of like, he's like, "You still want?" And Shay's like, "I still want." And obviously talking about having sex. Just a quick deviation. We just need to talk about Connor Story's freckles on his back. They're just so beautiful. Like, just so nice. We see them here. We see them when he's getting out the pool in episode 5 as well. Like, I mean, he's topless a lot, but like, obviously the lighting of this shot is beautiful. All of these bedroom scenes are shot so beautifully, and now we know actually that they were all filmed at the same time, which makes sense because the cinematography is quite similar. But he just has such a beautiful back, and I think we just need to sometimes applaud these things. They then have sex. And one of the things I've been seeing, and I think it sort of leads into what we were talking about up front, but like one of the big conversations with this is like, it's not like one sexual position and then they like fade to black. Like, it fades to black, and then when we fade back in, they're still having sex in a different position. And we get like 2 or 3 separate positions. And like, Ilya just like keeps asking him if he's okay. Like, every time they change position, he's like, "You still okay? Is everything okay? You good?" Oh, I love him. I love the both of them. There is one bit in this. So I think it's like when they're first having sex. There was a bit of back and forth on the internet. So Shane is saying Rosanov, but he says Rosie, and in the subtitles it says Rosie. And I think we're all watching this with subtitles on because a lot of us are not watching this in the legal places we should be, and we need the Russian subtitles, and it does say Rosie, but Hudson Williams has confirmed that that's actually not what happened. He thinks that he was saying Rosanov, but then he was overcome with passion, and so it got cut off. So he wasn't saying Rosie. Anyway, it was a fun back and forth. I just thought that was a funny thing to talk about. And then, yes, they both have an amazing time. It's like really beautiful. And then they kind of come to and they're just like caressing each other and, you know, they're like cuddled up. It's like really, really sweet. And then Shane is like, now the bed's all dirty. And it's a nice little throwback to them having some bed-based banter. Um, and then he goes and takes a shower. He comes back. And Shane is like, that was so hot. And Ilya was like, was it worth the wait? And like, it's been fucking 2 years. What the hell? Insane. And then they're like sensually sort of kissing each other. And then Ilya, you know, gets a little freaked out by that. And he's just like, it's like, I should go. And he gets ready and he goes. And then they go down the stairs, like through the back way again. And Shane like is walking out and then he just like sits on the stairs and he's like holding Ilya's jacket whilst he like puts his shoes on. And it's just, oh, I just love this part so much. And later on in episode 5, when Shane is talking to Rose about, you know, whether he's like been in love with a guy before, they flash back to this scene. And Shane is just like sat with his hood up and he's just like a little oh, just a little puppy that's just like so in love. Ilya's like getting dressed. By the way, this outfit on Ilya is beautiful. I think it's so everything about it is great. The all black. It's so nice. And then Shane starts like bringing up the Olympics and the fact it's in Russia, and he's like, "Oh, you excited to go home? Like, say by your parents?" And obviously, Ilya's like, "No, I'm not excited at all. Like, it's going to be horrible." And then you know, Shane is like talking about his family, and you know, he tries to like open up with him, like get him to open up about his family, and Ilya's just like, "No." And then Ilya turns the conversation back to sex and he's like, remember when I made you come without hands? And then he just like lightly kisses him on the mouth and like they are so in love with each other. Ah! Oh, it's just I love this. I love everything about it. It's just so beautiful. It'd be really great if this episode could just end there and then we just move on. Nothing else happens. Doesn't need to happen. Oh, but then we go to the Olympics. So um Shane is like sat having, I think like ice cream or something. I don't know. And he's like, actually, you know what he's having? He's having froyo because froyo was so big in the like early 2010s. I think that's actually what was happening. And then Scott Hunter and another player on the American team. So yeah, so obviously Shane is playing for Canada in the Olympics. Ilya's playing for Russia, and then Scott is playing for New York. Sorry, for America. He comes along and basically we find out that Russia lost to Latvia, and like how it was a bit of a shit show. And then they all sit down and then Shane is saying how one of his friends is a figure skater and he'd like to go watch him. And the guy who's playing for Team America, Team USA is like, oh, he's so brave to like be out and gay in the Olympics. And you know, we sort of pan into Shane's face as he's talking about this. And I think Shane hadn't really pieced together that it could be unsafe to be gay and be in Russia. And obviously, like for him, he's like, he's not out. The only person who's sleeping with Ilya, it's like not going to happen whilst they're here. But I think he is quite worried about Ilya. He texts Ilya and he's like, how you doing? And doesn't hear anything. Anyway, the three of them go to watch the figure skating, and as they're watching that, they see Ilya. Well, Shane sees Ilya like at the top of the arena, so he goes up to see him. As he's walking up, we see that Ilya got a text from his brother saying like, "Where the fuck are you? Dad is so mad at you." Obviously about his loss to Latvia. And then you know Shane comes up and he's like, "Are you okay? Like I just wanted to check in." And Ilya's basically just like, "Go fuck yourself. Like fuck off. I don't care about your boring text. Leave me alone." And so Shane sort of like walks away and is pretty sad. And it's like, it was like 2 years of build up and then they had sex and then they had this lovely like cuddle snuggle session. And now he's just like, go fuck yourself. Like a couple of weeks later. Oh, Ilya, just keep your emotions to yourself. Oh, anyway, Ilya then goes to see his dad. Quick note. So the first time I watched this, I couldn't find a version with subtitles. I did not know that this man was Ilya's dad. I was like, why is Ilya going to talk to like the I don't know, someone in politics in Russia, and why is he yelling at him? And obviously it's his dad. I just didn't know that. He's super pissed that they lost. He's like, you've gotten really lazy, you've got really undisciplined, like you should be so ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed that you play for Russia, like all of this stuff. And, Ilya takes this really, really hard. And I think it's interesting how, like, fun and silly he is with Shane, but actually, like, in his real life, he is quite docile and, he's very dominated by his father and a lot of Russia, actually. Um, his dad then goes to tie his tie, and he's like, "Who tied this for you? Your mother?" And Ilya's like, "No, mom is dead. Like, what are you talking about?" And I suppose this is when we find out his mother has died, but also that his father is getting dementia. It's sad. It's very sad. We then see Ilya with his dad and like a Russian minister, and they're just like talking over him. It's very similar to like how it was in episode 1, where his dad and the coach were talking over him. Um, and again, it's just so different to how he is with Shane. Um, so Svetlana then arrives and she saves him and takes him to this like beautiful bathroom where a man, Sasha, is doing drugs. And we realize that Sasha is the coach's son that Ilya used to hook up with. He sort of like flirts with Ilya for a little bit, and then Svetlana is like talking to Ilya about how like Boston could win the cup. Like she's like, this is the season that you can beat Montreal. Like their goalie is sick. Like, yes, Hollander's a good player, but like this is a good time for you. You could then beat Chicago, and then you just have San Fran, and like you be good to go. I love her. I love her. I love her beautiful face. I love her beautiful hair. And I love that she knows so much about hockey. Anyway, Ilya's sort of like taking this in. He's like, okay, cool. But you can just tell like he's devastated about his loss. He's devastated about like embarrassing himself and his family in front of the whole of Russia, at the Olympics. Like it's a pretty big deal. Sasha then comes on to Ilya, but Ilya sort of like turns him down, and he's like, "Look, we aren't children anymore." And Sasha's like, "Yeah, but we could go to a party and we could do this." And Ilya's like, "No, I'm good." And then Sasha leaves, and then Ilya just starts looking at Shane's text, and I think he wants to reach out, but he doesn't. And then we're at spring 2014. We find out that Shane is now the captain of the team, and he is watching the finals. And the final is between Boston and San Fran. So I think what we're led to believe is Svetlana's plan worked. And basically Boston have won the cup, which is incredible. Everyone around like Shane, as they're watching this match, is like super pissed off, but like the camera just pans on Shane's face and he's just like smirking, and he's pretty happy for his friend. But I think what we kind of find out a little bit, I suppose, later, but it's good to talk about now, is that Ilya just like locked in. He was like, I cannot be distracted by anything. I have to win the cup. I have to like make my dad proud. I have to make myself proud. I can't show that I'm like undisciplined. Like I need to like make Russia proud. But because of that, he has like completely ghosted Shane. He like has not texted him back since the Olympics. So then we go to the Major League Hockey Awards, and Shane and Ilya are presenting an award together, and this is the first time they've seen each other since the Olympics. Shane is like backstage, he's like freaking out. I think he's a bit like, I don't know what I'm going to say to this person, but also Ilya is like super late, and Shane was like, what were you doing? And Ilya says, I was busy, and Shane says, with who? And I think Ilya's a bit taken aback by that. Like, I don't think he was with anyone. But yeah, Shane's pissed. He's pretty upset. They then walk onto stage, and then they take this like fake selfie on stage, and Ilya runs his hands like down the back of Shane's back. So hot, so hot. Shane then goes to the bathroom and checks the stalls. And I think, to be honest, I think he was just going in there so he could have a little cry. I think he was quite upset about this whole situation. But Ilya follows him in. Like, Shane is pissed. He's just like, you haven't texted me back in 6 months. Like, what the actual fuck? And again, I think Ilya just was like, I had to make sure I won. But he obviously doesn't say that. They eventually get like quite intimate and quite sweet with each other. And then Ilya is like, I want you to beg for me to suck your dick. And Shane does. He's like, please, please. And then Ilya is like, sort of like kissing his neck. And then he's like, no. And Shane's like, what the fuck? And then he tells him that he wants him to go to his seat. And after the party, and once they've waited all night, he'll come to his room and he'll like maybe do more than that. Maybe. And Shane is like, when did your English get so good? Which again is funny because Connor is not Russian, but sure. And he's like, I read the New Yorker. And he's like, not really, it's so boring. And then Shane's like, my dad reads the New Yorker. And Ilya's like, oh, being boring is genetic. The rage baiting is back. Oh, I love it. They then make this deal like about like who wins MVP. They're like, you know, it's a really silly deal. It's like whoever wins, we're just gonna fuck each other either way. And then they make out, and then Ilya leaves, and Shane is like wiping tears away. Like he's pretty upset about this whole interaction. He's obviously just like falling for him, and then he's been ghosted, and I think also his gayness, like him being gay, is so tied to Ilya. Like I don't think Shane is hooking up with anyone else at all. And so I just don't think he knows what to do. They then end up in Ilya's penthouse. Ilya is stood in the window. Again, the lighting in this room is so beautiful, but he's stood in the window, his shirt is open, he's drinking vodka, and he's drinking it like he's holding it from the bottom of the glass, like with his whole palm underneath, and then like sort of he just looks so hot. Just the hottest he's looked. Not the hottest he will look, but the hottest he has looked. Good for him. But yeah, Ilya's being very cold with Shane. Ilya won MVP. And then he tells Shane, you know, because of that, he's like, take off your clothes. And he does, but you can see that Shane's feeling quite like removed from Ilya. Like he's quite pissed that he's not forcing him, but asking him to do this. But again, he like piles it, like folds them all up and stuff. He then comments on the windows. He's like, there's a lot of windows. And obviously, again, he's just so worried about being caught. And then Ilya like goes into the bedroom and he drags a chair with him. He sits at the foot of the bed and then he tells Shane to get on the bed and like play with himself so he can watch. Ilya then baits him and he's like, do you want to know how it feels to hold the cup? And Shane switches and he's like, you fucking asshole. And it's so funny when I think they bring hockey, like the hockey part of their lives into the sex part, because like I feel like they're normally like quite like two separate worlds. So it's really funny when they do bring it in like that. And yeah, Shane takes off his boxers and then throws them at Ilya. They then have sex, and then afterwards Ilya is like smoking, and they are like super different. Like it's like this. Sorry, they're super distant. Like this could not be more different to how it was like the last time they hooked up. Where you know they afterwards they were like caressing and kissing, and it was very sweet. And in here it's like they could not be further away from each other in the bed. Ilya is smoking. He's not really talking to him. Shane then tries to make a conversation about the Olympics, and you know he asks if Ilya's going back to Russia and like if it's safe for him to be there, and Ilya's a bit like, yeah, it's my home, it's fine. And then he's like, I need to go to sleep, and basically like kicks Shane out. Poor Shane. Shane then gets changed in the other room, and like Ilya's like in the bedroom and he's in the living room, and then he's like, okay, bye. And then Ilya from the bedroom is just like, bye, Hollander. And it's so cold. Shane then leaves and he's in the lift or the elevator, and he's writing and rewriting texts he wants to send to Ilya. He first says, see you next season, which is obviously their line, but then he deletes that. And then he says, we didn't even kiss. We didn't even kiss. Oh, it's so heartbreaking. Little baby Shane. Oh, it'll be okay. And that's the end of episode 2. Ah! Oh, I hate it. I hate that, like, you know, this episode goes from being so fun and, you know, we see this like 2-year period of nothing happening. And then they hook up and it's so beautiful. And they both, like, you can just, like, even in the sex scene. And again, that sex scene is like, there's so much going on in there. Like, they're both having an incredible time. They're both, like, really falling for each other. You know, Ilya pushes Sasha away at the Olympics. Like, he could have easily hooked up with Sasha, and all he's thinking about is Shane. But then this like responsibility of having to like lock in because of like how much pressure he's under from his entire country. And then he just turns all of that pressure and coldness and whatever onto Shane and just like pushes him away. It's so sad. Look, good news is it gets better. Anyway, that was episode 2. Let's move on to Mr. Scott Hunter in episode 3.
What has happened to Scott Hunter?
I had a banana.
Oh, so you're kind of wild.
Kip. Thanks again, Kip.
Girl. A girl.
I mean, it's definitely not gay.
Nice to see you again, Kip.
Dude.
Girl.
Was that?
Yes, it fucking was.
Yeah.
Hey, you don't mind waiting until I'm done?
Not even a little. How would you feel about ordering in? Do you want the full tour now, or?
Epic or.
I can't stop thinking about you.
And I just thought since you have your game tomorrow.
When I get back from practice later, I want you to be here when I come home from my game tonight.
I think I'd love to be here when you get back. Hey guys, he's a customer. He's not my boyfriend. Oh! I don't have a fucking boyfriend.
I'm really sorry. I thought I could do that.
What's the plan, babe?
I don't know.
He deserves sunshine. And so do you.
Hey guys, we have made it to episode 3, Hunter, of course. Oh my God. So we start back at the Olympic scene where Shane was having his froyo when they're in Russia. And obviously there's the 3 of them at the table. There is Shane. There's the guy whose name I never learned who plays for team. I think he plays for Montreal. And then at one point he gets transferred to New York, but he is playing for Team USA with Scott Hunter. The 3 of them are at the table, and obviously Shane had just talked about the fact one of his friends is a figure skater, and the other friend, whose name I don't know, was like talking about how it must be really crazy, and he's really brave for coming to Russia and being like openly gay. And in episode 2, the camera panned in on Shane, and in episode 3, it pans in on Hunter. And then I do have to say, I was in, and also just the release schedule. So they release episodes 1 and 2 together, and then 3 was the next episode. And I was so invested in Shane and Ilya that when it like pivoted to Scott, I was like, excuse me? No, this is not okay. This is not okay. And then I would say about 5 minutes in, I was like, oh, we're okay. We're good. We're good. So this is Scott Hunter's story. And I think one big thing that, a lot of people have been talking about is the fact that like when there is a gay story, a gay show or a movie or whatever, there's normally 2 gay people and they're very closeted. And in this show, there is a minimum of 4. There could be loads more. And it's just so great. So we start at the Olympics and then we flash back 4 months before. So this episode is the window from 4 months before the Olympics to the Olympics. We get this sort of like sportscaster on the radio or whatever, and they are talking about the New York Admirals, which is the team that Scott Hunter plays for, and how he's like not doing a great job. Like he's sort of like inconsistent. He's floundering a little bit, not doing great. But he has been made captain of Team USA for the Olympics, and they're a little bit like, oh, why? Anyway, Scott is running down the street whilst listening to this, I think, and at least that's what they make out. And it's like, oh my God, imagine having to listen to someone talking about how shit you're doing at your job whilst running. I would never listen to that ever, but that's what he's doing. He then stops and he parks up in front of a smoothie shop, and he like goes in and he's like, I think I deserve a little smoothie. He walks up to the counter. He is wearing this like Under Armour, body tight shirt that he's been running in. This shirt is doing this man so many favors. It is showing his entire body. Oh, it's beautiful. Well done to everyone. Also, just a quick applause to the casting director for the show. Everyone is so hot. Obviously, Shane and Ilya, hot. But now we have Hunter, we have Kip. Love, 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 love. Oh, it's just great. So just a little applause to them. Anyway, Scott is in this smoothie place and he goes up to the counter, and the person behind the counter is like fast asleep, and they're holding onto this like art history book. He wakes them up, and then he's like, the person wakes up and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. He's like, how can I help you? And just fully, like, without any form of embarrassment, looks him fully up and down. You can see everything through the shirt. Again, applause to the costume team also. But yeah, he gives a full little look up and down Scott Hunter's body. Good on you, Kip. Kip then makes him a blueberry smoothie, and like throughout this interaction, Scott keeps being like, "Oh, thanks, Kip. Yeah, Kip. Yeah, great. Thanks, Kip." And this is like making Kip go a little bit insane. And then they just sort of like intensely look at each other. Scott is watching him whilst he's making the smoothie. He hands him the smoothie. They're just like fully like eye fucking each other. And then eventually, like, Kip looks away. He then over tips Kip, and then leaves. And then as like the camera sort of pans, and then Maria, who is Kip's colleague, was like in the background for this whole interaction, and she is just like, girl. And then, they had a little flirt. It was very nice. And then as Scott is walking out the building, another man comes in, a straight man, we assume, and he's like, "Oh my God, was that Scott Hunter?" And Kip's like, I don't know, maybe. And he's like, "Oh, he's the hockey player for the New York Admirals." And Maria was like, "Girl." Oh, I love it. It's so good. Anyway, Kip and his friends then go to this gay bar, and they're watching hockey on TV, and requested by Kip. And he's like, "Okay, well, that's the guy that came in. Like, that is him." And then Maria's like, "He said your name twice." And Kip is like, "Yeah, sure, he knows my name, but he's definitely not gay." And one of his friends is like, "Well, you should make him gay." Which obviously he doesn't need to do, but it's a nice thought. The next day, Kip is like reading the newspaper, and he's like, "He scored a hat trick last night." And Maria's like, "Yeah, cool, we were there, like we watched it on TV. Like, calm down." And then Scott comes back into this movie bar, and he's like, "It's nice to see you again, Kip." Oh, it's a dream. Then Kip like lets him know, he knows who he is. And they're just like eye fucking each other the entire time. And Scott is like, "When something works for me, I like to keep it the same. And so I would like the same exact smoothie." And it's just like so cute, right? Like, I think, like, we've just come off 2 episodes of Ilya and Shane being like very dramatic. And this is sort of just like a really nice meet cute of like two guys just like liking each other. And I think, there's a few reasons that this episode is in here. One is like it comes back around in episode 5. Obviously, it is a moving force for Ilya and Shane. But also, I think just showing different dynamics of gay relationships. Like, the Ilya and Shane one is so dramatic, and it spans years and years and years, and there's so many ups and downs. And this just shows like two men just falling for each other. And yes, we get some drama towards the end, but it is just like quite organic, and it's really nice, and oh, it's just beautiful. Anyway, Scott then tips him again, and they're just like a little bit awkward, and then he's like, "Okay, well, I'll see you next game day, I hope." Kit then turns to Maria and is like, "Was he flirting with me?" And she's like, "Yes, obviously." Kip then meets his friend Elena at the same bar, and they like put the game on. And right before the game plays, Shane's like aftershave ad comes on, and I just love this like world building out, right? Like, Shane is famous and does these adverts, but also like he plays for the Metros. Like, of course, his advert would be on before this game. Like, it's great. They're then like drooling over Scott, and then she tells him like he needs to like check his shifts because like he's obviously going to be coming in for the next home game. You need to find out when that is. And then he's like, "I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to look it up." And then he's like, "Oh, it's on Saturday. I'm actually not working Saturday." And then it like cuts to Saturday, and Kip is working, and it's so cute. Scott comes in, and like he orders again. It's a little bit awkward, and then he's like, "Actually, I might like hang out here and just like do some emails and stuff." And they are the only two people in the shop. They like are just like staring at each other the whole time. And then they have this like back and forth like bit of banter about how like athletes can be a bit intense around like rituals, and like they don't shave during the playoffs or have sex, or like don't wash their clothes or whatever. And
Scott starts saying like, "Oh, I'm not at that level. I'm not like a serial killer. I'm actually like too lazy to be a serial killer. That's just not me." And so they have this back and forth banter, and then Kip, and then Scott is like, "Look, you just wouldn't get it. You're not a science guy. You're obviously an art guy." He only knows that from the art book from when he was asleep. Like he's just like picking up on all these cues. It's so good. Um, Kip then says he's not like complaining as they all look like hot lumberjacks by the end of May. And this brings some like tension in the air as I suppose like Scott now has confirmation that Kip is gay. And it's great. Scott then is like, "Kip, do you want to come to my game tonight?" And Kip's like, "Okay, sure." So then Kip and Elena go and they're like sat in like Scott's seats, like, you know, the ones he has reserved for friends and family or whatever. And he like skates past them and he's like smiling. Kip's like, "That wasn't for me. Like, that was definitely not for me." And then he skates past again and gives him a little wave. And he's like, "Oh, fuck. Like, this is for me." Oh, it's so cute. It's so cute. We're then in Boston. So like Scott had played in New York the night before. He's now playing in Boston. And we see that they had lost against Boston. Obviously, Ilya Rozanov, a guy we know, plays for the Boston team. And so we see Ilya like saying like, you know, goodbye to his team, get him off. He's like, "I love you, I love you, I love you, like you're all the best." He then says to Hunter, "Too bad you can't play at your home every night, because when you know, at least then you can win a game or two." And I just love seeing Ilya being a little shit. It's so good. And then Hunter is like, "Go fuck yourself, Rosanov." And Ilya says, "It's more fun if you're there." Scott has so much information about these two. Like, I think between the like, "Where's your boy Rosanov?" Like Ilya being like, "I want to be there if, you know, if we're gonna fuck." It's He has all this information. Oh, I love it. And then the next day or a couple of days later, he's then playing Montreal. They lose again. Hollander like skates over and he's like, "Hope next time we play each other, you actually show up." Shane Hollander, how dare you? Hunter's like, "That's cheap." And then he's like, "You're starting to sound like Rosanov." I was trying to figure out timeline wise. They've either about to hook up or they've just hooked up. Either way, they're like sexting, right? Like stuff is happening. This means like Hollander kicks off and then he starts a fight with Hunter. And like on the sportscast or whatever, they're like, "We don't think we've seen Hollander ever start a fight with anyone." I just can't wait. Like, I feel like at some point, Scott Hunter will find out about Shane and Ilya. I think that's going to happen. And I just cannot wait for him to like have to put all of these pieces together and just be like, "Oh yeah, that happened and that happened," because he's been around. Just the best. We then see Kip at home, having watched the game, and he's like hanging out with his dad. So he lives with his dad. His dad is the nicest man in the world. He's just so, so sweet, and he just loves his son. Oh, it's so lovely. And Kip is like, "Oh, I'm not working at the smoothie place tomorrow. I have this like catering job." Um, and the dad is like, "Look, you're working yourself too hard, but like, I know you're working towards that art scholarship." So we find out that Kip is trying to get into art school. And then we go to the morning and Kip is running around. He can't find his suit for the catering job. He's freaking out. Kip, I think we could have organized this the night before, but it's okay. It's fine. But again, the dad is so sweet and he's like, "It's in my wardrobe. You don't need to worry. You're not fucking up. You're really good. Like, just calm yourself." Anyway, he gets the catering job and he's like, you know, he's freaking out a little bit. He's running late. He picks up a plate of food and he goes out to serve it and he runs straight into Scott Hunter. Ah, meet cute after meet cute. Love it. Scott notices it's him and he's a bit shocked. And he's with this woman who's such a bitch and she's like, "Oh, they don't hire waiters anymore. They just hire models who can't even carry a tray." Oh, who would say that? What a rude, rude woman. Anyway, Kit recovers and goes back out to serve. He serves, you know. And then Scott sees him and gives him a little wink. They then have a chat and they make it like another little joke about serial killers. I'm assuming this is like all from the book. Like this whole serial killer bit in particular, I think is like throughout the book. 1,000% sure. Scott then asks him to hang out after the event. Oh, imagine a famous hockey player who you've ran into a few times being like, do you want to come get Mexican food with me? However, what time is Kip finishing? Because I would assume this event finishes at like 11:30, and then he's probably got to clean up and do some stuff. Scott Hunter's waiting around until like 1 a.m., I reckon. He's hanging out in that like alleyway until 1 a.m. He's the one that's getting murdered. It's crazy. But yeah, Scott's waiting for him. They go to the Mexican place and it's like got a massive queue outside. And then Scott is like, how do you feel about ordering in? Come to my house. Come to my house. They then go to his like insane apartment and the fire is on when they get there. And I was a bit like, who lit the fire? But also this show loves fires because when Shane and Ilya had their first ever sex scene at Shane's house, the fire was on there as well. They just love it. They love a romantic fire. Anyway, Kip is like looking out the window and then he like turns around and Scott has like taken his top off. And his body is just, it's tea. It's beautiful. Oh, beautiful job, everybody. Great job. Scott is then like, do you want the full tour now? And Kip cuts him off and is like, I take ore. I pick ore. Whatever ore is, I pick ore. It's so hot. It's so, so hot. Oh, let's get it on. They then like go into the bedroom. They're making out. Kip is just like, I can't believe like you're into me. And you know, this obviously is, like I said, it's such a different story to Shane and Ilya. This is obviously a bit more of like a Cinderella story. And it's just like, it is actually just such a nice change of pace to just have these two people that are super into each other. There's no real drama about them getting together. It is, you know, they're, as I said, there's more later, but like they just really like each other. And then Scott is like, I just can't stop thinking about you. Like, you're amazing. Um, and it's just pure queer joy. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Scott then goes down on Kip and they do a really great job of like the choreo with this. So like in the past when people have been giving blowjobs where we've like they've been laid down, we've been using like bent legs to cover things up. But in this, they're both like laid down and Kip is like grabbing the sheets and like pulls them up and that's what covers him. And I just thought that was really clever and I hadn't really seen that before. And I thought it was really beautiful. So just, yeah, great job. Really good job. Anyway, Scott then falls asleep and Kip is like leaving. Scott wakes up and Kip is like, look, I just knew you had a game tomorrow and I didn't want to be a bother. I didn't want to be around. Kip is the sweetest. It's so nice. And again, like such a great like flip from like Ilya in particular being like, I gotta go. Like I can't be here. Like Kip is leaving because he doesn't want to be a bother. It's very Shane coded, obviously. And Scott is like, stay. Like, I want you to stay. So yeah, he stays. Scott then wakes up again in the morning to the sound of the blender and goes into the kitchen where Kip is like topless. His body is also insane. Where do they find these men? Oh, so great. So he was like, I was gonna run out and like make you like get all the ingredients, but you actually have everything in your fridge. So I just thought you would like, I should make you make a smoothie for you. Like you have a game today, like you always have this smoothie now. Like I just wanted to make sure you had it. Hunter is like so taken aback by this like act of service. I would say act of service and quality time are Kip and Scott's love languages. It's so nice. He like goes around the counter, he like picks Kip up and carries him to the bedroom and he's like, can I fuck you? And Kip is like, absolutely. Anyway, afterwards they are drinking their smoothies and then Kip is like, I should probably go. And Scott is like, no. And Kip is like, oh, you are a serial killer. I'm like okay about this serial killer banter. Like I said, I think it's definitely from the books. It's not my favorite, but it's fine. It is what it is. Scott then says, look, I know I'm intense, but I haven't brought anyone here ever. I'm not out publicly. My life is complicated. Like my plan was just to wait until I retire and then I could just fade away and then I suppose like maybe be with someone. And it's so sad. And it's like
that shouldn't have to be what the life you have to pick is, right? You should get to be a professional hockey player and also be gay. Like, those two things should be true, and they're just not. But he's like, I want you so bad, and I really like you, and I want you to stay. He says, I want you to be here when I get back from my practice, and when I get home from my game tonight, I want you more than I've wanted anything in a long time. Is that too much? You can say if it is. Ah! Oh, I love him. I love both of them. It's so great. Kip comes around the counter and he says he would love to be here when he gets back, and he is not too lazy to be a serial killer. As I said, I don't love this bit, but it is what it is. We then get this montage of Kip. Kip's on the couch. Scott's at practice. Kip is wearing his slutty little glasses. Oh, love a gay man in some slutty little glasses, obviously. Scott comes home and he's just like so happy that Kip is there. He like drops his bag and they just like aggressively make out with each other. We then see, Kip that night is watching the game at home. He's talking to his dad on the phone. He's like, yeah, I put my applications in. We then see them in bed together, obviously, like that night. Kip then goes to the bar and sees his friends, and they're like, we haven't seen you in 3 days. Like, where have you been? They then say you must have been with your boyfriend, Scott Hunter, which Kip denies and says, I don't have a fucking boyfriend, which then jump cuts to Scott and Kip having like full sex with each other. It's so good. It's so fun. I love these little like earlier when, Kip was like, I'm not going to rearrange my schedule. And then it's like Saturday and he's working. This is like that same thing. It's very like rom-com-y. It's very fun. It's great. Then Scott comes home and Kip has made him food and they're just getting like so domesticated and in love so fast, and it's so cute. Kip then shows Scott an artist that he likes and they go to a gallery to look at some art, but when they get there, Scott like realizes he's like out in the open with his boyfriend and like he's just so uncomfortable and he doesn't know how to talk to anyone and he's just freaking out. I do think they could have maybe gone to this art gallery with a cover story ready to go, like this is my personal shopper or something. I don't know. Like, not great that they would have to do that, but better than this sort of like very weird, awkward interaction. But it's all good. They come home and Scott apologizes. They like hug it out. Kit then gets him some socks with bananas on, which is so cute because he's going away to play for a while. And then Kip is like, can I fuck you? And Scott is like, absolutely. Anyway, Elena, so Scott's away. So Elena and Kip go to the bar again. They're watching the game. Elena is like, you're in love with him and you're hiding this and you haven't told your dad. And Kip is like, you can't tell anyone. He can't come out. And he's amazing. And I've never been happier. And Elena's like, well, what's the plan? And like, it's a good question. It's a good question. Like, there is no plan. It is like, we stay hidden forever. Elena then takes Kip to a fundraiser and Scott is also there. And someone is like asking Scott, like, you've been playing so well recently. Like, what's changed? Have you found some girl or something? And, Scott is a bit like awkward about it. And the man like apologizes and he's like, look, I just know that your parents would be so proud of you. And again, Scott gets a bit awkward and he's like, hey, I see someone I know, I gotta go. And then he goes to see Kip and Elena. And Elena's like a bit off with him. Like, she's being a bit weird. And then she like walks off. And Kip is like, Elena knows. And I'm really sorry. And Scott is like, look, it's fine. Like, it's pretty obvious that she knows. I assume she's going to be discreet. And he's like, yeah, 1,000%, like, of course. And then Elena comes back and she's like, Scott, I want to dance with you. And they don't know each other. I think this is the first time they've met. Scott and Elena dance and she's like, look, he's obsessed with you. And Scott's like, I'm obsessed with him. And then she's like, but he's miserable. And I, like, when I first watched this episode, I think I was a bit like, why is this woman getting involved in their relationship? But I think, to be honest with you, I think Kip would never have spoken up. And I think he is sad. And this relationship is making him sad because he cannot be himself. But yeah, I was a little bit the first time. I was like, why are you inserting yourself in this? But she's being a good friend. I get it. It's nice. She's like, look, he's in love with you, and he'll put up with this, but it's killing him. And she says, you seem great, but he's great too. And he deserves sunshine. And so do you. And I think this conversation is the reason that what happens in episode 5 happens. Because he wants to be Sunshine and he wants to make someone else Sunshine. Ah! It's so sweet. It's so sweet. Um, Kip and Scott go home, and Scott is reeling from this conversation. He does not know what to do. And Kip's birthday's coming up, and Scott's like, "Yeah, let's go for like surf and turf. Like, we'll get it brought in, like whatever." And Kip's like, "Yeah, that would be great, but like, I'm also like meeting some friends at this gay bar I go to. Like, would you want to come?" And Scott's just like, "I can't. Like, I cannot do that. I'm so sorry." And Kip is like, I know the team is your family, but I have family too, and I, I need to be with them, and I need to be honest and authentic. And he's like, I have to go and stay with my dad, and they break up, and they're done. And then we sort of go back, like we kind of know this is from like Elena's conversation, but we also go back to the fundraiser, and we see Scott's speech, and he talks about how his parents both died when he was 12, and he got the scholarship program, and um he got this like new family from playing hockey, and how like that happened in high school and then in college, and now like the New York Admirals, like they are his family, and he's never really had a family before. And it's like this is the thing that he will lose. This is what he will lose if he comes out, because it's going to be bad. And I think that fear of like not having a family again and losing them again is just it's really hard. It's really heartbreaking for both of them. It's horrible. Ugh, why can't both things be okay? It's so annoying. Um, anyway, Kit gets home, and then he just like cries to his dad. Oh, his dad is just the sweetest. He's so nice. We then see Kip at the bar again. He's celebrating his birthday, and his friends are like cheering him on. And we also found out that he got a scholarship to art school. And then we see Scott outside, just like watching this happen, and he's just like really sad. And like this is the only man he's ever loved, and he just can't be his authentic self because he does this job. It's so fucking annoying. Anyway, we then go to the Olympics. So obviously, like this has been that 4 months before the Olympics, and we find out Team USA were playing for the gold medal, and his teammate, the one whose name I never know, is like, "Are you ready? Let's get dressed. Let's go." And then Scott is like, getting finally ready and stuff, and then he puts on his banana socks that Kip gave him. Ugh, it's so sad. Ugh, it's just like I think, like, as Jacob Tierney was saying, this is pure queer joy, but is not without the heartbreak of what being a professional hockey player is like. A professional athlete. Like, as they were saying in episode 2, and it comes up again here, like, those athletes going to Russia who are gay are very brave. And they are putting themselves in a dangerous situation for just being who they are. And these professional athletes are just wanting to be themselves and wanting to find love and just have a nice, sexy time also. But being who they are will ruin the life that they have been working towards forever. Oh, and it's so frustrating. But yes, that is episode 3. Team, we've made it. We've made it to the end of part 1. Thank you so much for sticking with me. Yeah, that was the first 3 episodes. It's taken a while to record. It's going to take a while to edit. I'm going to, put some little clips in and stuff. As I said, I'm now on Patreon. If you have gotten this far, please, please, please just come over to the Patreon. It's free. You don't have to do anything to be there. And then if you want to give me a little 5 stars wherever you're listening to that would also be great. I will start on part 2, which will be the next, like the last 3 episodes. Oh, the most beautiful episodes as well. I think like 1 to 3 is like Heartbreak Hotel. It's like fun and then sad and then fun and then sad. I think 4 to 6 is like love. It's beautiful. It's so great. So, um,
yes, that will be coming out soon. I'm not going to make any promises about when because I don't know. But yes, thank you so much for being here. This has been our solo TV date, The Heated Rivalry, Part 1. That's a wrap on today's date. If you've gotten this far, a little follow, a review, wherever you're listening would be absolutely amazing. And please come join me over on Instagram at Solo Movie Dates Podcast, where we can talk about pop culture, movie news, and what films I should cover next. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next Solo Movie Date.